Good afternoon. We start with Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga. From the heart of the Savior of 100 deities of Tushita, on a peak of cloud resembling a clam of extremely white fresh curd, King of Dhamma, omniscient Losandrapa, please come here together with your sons. In the sky before me, on a lion throne, lotus and moon, my perfect pure Guru smiles with delight. Supreme field of merit for my mind of faith, please abide for 100 eons to spread the teachings. Your holy mind has the intelligence that understands the full extent of objects to be known. Your holy speech with its excellent explanations is an ear ornament for those of good fortune. Your holy body is radiantly beautiful with glory renowned. To you who are meaningful to see, hear, and remember, I prostrate. Pleasing drinking water, various flowers, fragrant incenses, lights, scented waters, and so forth. Oceans of cloud-like offerings, both actually arranged and mentally emanated. I offer to you the supreme field of merit. Whatever non-virtue of body, speech, and mind, especially those opposite to the three vows that I have collected from beginningless time, I confess each and every one with fervent regret from my heart. You strove for much learning and practice in this degenerate age, and made your freedoms and richnesses meaningful by abandoning the eight worldly concerns. Savior, we sincerely rejoice in your extensive deeds. Perfect, pure, holy gurus from the billowing clouds of wisdom and compassion in the sky of Dharmakaya, please let fall a rain of profound and extensive Dharma upon the receptacle of those to be subdued exactly as they need. May whatever virtue I have collected benefit the teachings and all transmigratory beings, and in particular may it cause the essence of perfect pure Losandrapa's teachings to shine forever. Sajibuki Chushi Metok Dramri Rablishi Nidegembadi Sange Jindu Mite Uwa Hidrokunamda Shila Chupasho. By the merits of having offered this mandala to Lama Tsongkhapa and his two sons, may I, my family members, and all sentient beings be able to meet, practice, and actualize the teachings of the victorious one, Losandrapa, who had a morality of eminently pure way of life, was courageous in the extensive conduct of the sons of the victorious ones, and accomplished the yoga of two stages of supreme bliss and emptiness. Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Niryatayami. By the force of having fervently requested in this way, hollow beams of white light are emitted from the hearts of the perfect pure Father and Sons, and combining into one enter my crown. White nectar, the color of milk, flows from the opening of tube of white light, cleansing all my sicknesses, spirit harms, negative karmas, obscurations, and their imprints without exception. My body becomes as pure and clear as crystal. We recite 5-line Miktsema 3 times. Migme tsewe tenchen chen rezi, drime gempe wampo jampel yang, dupo malu jonze sawenda, kanchen kepe tsungen son kapa, losan drape shabla soade. Migme tsewe tenchen chen rezi, drime gempe wampo jampel yang, dupo malu jonze sawenda, Ganchen kepe tsungen tsongkapa, losan drape shabla sowade. Migme tsewe tenchen chen rezi, drime gimpe wampo jampel yang, dupo malu jonze sawendak, ganchen kepe tsungen tsongkapa, losan drape shabla sowade. And a prayer for the swift return of Lama Zopa Rinpoche by His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Fearless teacher and assembly of the children of the victorious ones, Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas, victorious Losang father and sons, along with the lineage masters, all the objects of refuge of infinite lands, please bestow the virtue and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now. Holding and spreading the Muni's precious and complete teachings through explanation and practice, you wore the armor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable venerable Guru, to you I make request. While striving single-pointedly for the sake of the victorious one's teachings, the sole gateway through which all benefit and happiness emerge, and for other living beings, you suddenly departed to peace. What a great loss! Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth of the blessings of the ocean of the three jewels and the great waves of bodhicitta of the children of the victorious ones, may the smile of a reincarnation swiftly beam in a glory for fortunate disciples.
Sanji Chodong Tsojin Chonum La Chanchu Pardu Dani Kyapsun Che Dagi Chushi Jebon de Dagi Drolam Benji Sanji Drubar Sho Sanji Chodong Tsojin Chonum La Chanchu Pardu Dani Kyapsun Dagi Chushi Jebon de Dagi Drolam Benji Sanji Drubar Sho Sanji Chodong Tsojin Chonum La Chanchu Pardu Dani Kyapsun Dagi Chushi Jebon de Dagi Drolam Benji Sanji Drubar Sho Kangi Tuzini Zone Tawa Tamje Pambicher Tambi Chundenze Kodam Dela Chance Lo Namo Lai Gadan Lodano Jigi Tribon Dana Mi Kenan Do Kunji Danam Chizam Tamje Gedu Dagi Chudin Do Good afternoon. Kento Chila
Oh, kena ningkundele. Kerangala sigi apa?
Ngacharang Jigmando Kenla Tadanga.
Kajang sosarang tonggi mindo. Ini kena kimade sosarang tak kimade. Ini nge dompa sigi apa?
Ngacharang Dombal Tadi.
Begitu. Sosarang tonggi mindo di kangel mindo. Okay.
Charan Zalakian and Nazalakian.
Not salakian. Ini gelchen pomade.
That's so. And trouble someone Lalia. Just the years, Tradola Charan to meet Jedwa. Meet Jage those. Susi Baders, Hakona Piki, your Salesra. Charan Susi, you're not thinking Hakona Piki, your Sales.
Good afternoon to everyone, both those who are here in the Gompa, as well as those are online. I see there are a number of people online. I of course, I can't see you directly, but if we know each other, then I'm very happy to see you. If we don't yet know each other, well, I'm glad to newly make your acquaintance.
지당에 남기 소소 촉보슬 계시바나가 가리나 당한서 동다 동통이 계시바나 약불도 스라 라기야티 테레도 아스라 동다 동통이 계시바나 대니 비기기 남줄 비기기 서로와 강 여바듯한 통구로 왔으라 배나 개개인의 개tuk지 바이나야 개개인 기칙라 레디 아니 냠바타 다감 냠바니 서로 로가로 왔어 서로 다감하러 왔어 아니 디나신기 서로 문다 나신기 아니 셈려야 아 가서다 템벌에 데미되게 개발된데 연구하서래서 그냥 안조다 메제 간살이야 개개인된 대반사 개개인 기치니 장샤주 티페 셈날 믹스 나급 투주 텐디질이야 개인 텐디지 송송 다다당원에 nen가래샤 송송 텐디 마음부 대여로 왔어
In general, and I assume you have a similar experience when we're talking to people and we can see their faces and we're both really talking face to face. This is so much more pleasant because it feels like even if we are in their presence, or at least we can see each other, we can see how they're reacting to what we're saying. We can see how they're feeling in general, etc. And then this helps guide one in how to interact with a person, and thereby from both sides the interaction is more beneficial, more impactful. And certainly in the context of teaching, this really makes quite a big difference. Now, I know from my own side as a student in the monastery, when we'd be taught by our teacher, this of course was face to face and in person, and that has quite an impact on the mind. Whereas if it was just his voice, perhaps the impact wouldn't have been quite the same. And because of the strength of the impact his teachings had on my mind, now all these years later, I can easily recall his teachings, his guidance, and this has an ongoing impact on how I live my life. That's all.
nganzu delaya ta me khashi chiro minyuch ngaranzo ruru chedia tar tona sozu mesedi kibu jiwa chegoras ro an samalya mesedi kibu chigorara dedi di me samajik baras ro ta mesedi kibu yong mayon di laya gyempe mangbu yorda da ra yorda ina ya ta me mangbu jigi karsang warsna da jig tungendi so imbadoji samgol tunge nganzo kechimbuda res imbainaya sembaki magyo seti tunge yome samla rale mebada nganzo nyongyo chuptugro asro nganzo mese nalolya ani nyongyo chuptugro asro teza tak kar res la di so di sembaki magyo seti semki magyo la rale yobati nganzo ta kaduna dero nganzo kadu na te shegor ta di res ro 완전 간지 난추 직 냠낸 지기 뭐나 샘로 투겨레스 소드 샘로 투겨레스 아니 깨져지시나야 샘띵 깨져지시 봐나 아니 소수 샘군의 샘라야 쳔비 샘날 예비 깨져지 아니 메질라 시봐나 아니 미디 딱딱 고그레스 아니 대 마인 봐 소수 샘라야 상로 셴바치다 깨져 셴바지시는 로데 봐나 Teni kansam jilaya, ani robo sukhangiya, suzulaya, ichi machiyachi. O du chawayana, ani zambani nalolaya, suzu kegyan chadrayachi mazoro. Yomar, di kibu chagmarwasiro. Ani sem ding kang chambati, samba namda gishiyan rodewayna. Ani misu tu yombayna ya, gawo chayachi. Pena gyawaramchi nanshi. 산지 좀 된데 나시 산지 좀 된데 간서 투요 말되네. 무슨 제요 말되냐. 광기 아니 원에 투 세워진 비권을라니. 무요 내수 깨졌 단 잠불이야. 무요 내수 생긴 간다지레스. 디톤을 라브제 봐인사. 좀 된데 양을 되는 거 니돈 투견 줘봐야냐. 좀 된데 라브샤트다. 좀 된데 센도 공원되게. 다지 하장 깊이 가서 아니 작당 초리기 상황진지 마이나 가오맹이지요 말이스. 라, 나 작당 초리 온도 손세베 제라 되니 다 깔가고 싶어 작다스. 라 소시 셈마기바. 셈라 가오메바. 기부메바티 용 타주 용도스. 라.
I think I can probably say for all of us, we have experience that when we are with people, and engaging with them, this has a more powerful impact on all parties, on the person you're engaging with, as well as with yourself. And especially when it's someone that you feel a connection for and they do towards you, and therefore that kind of the quality of that interaction is so much greater when you are together, or when you are at least face to face. Because, and from this, we can also then infer far more broadly. If we look at how we live our lives, what we do and don't do, we can come to recognize for ourselves that we really are guided by this motivation to achieve happiness, and not and accompanying that, not to encounter problems and difficulties. And to bring about happiness, we have so many conditions that we strive to accomplish. All these material resources and other various kinds of conditions and situations that we try to accomplish in order to have more stable happiness, to have less problems and difficulties in our lives. When you think about this well, we'll come to recognize that this, what guides us in everything we do, is this very deep-seated yearning for happiness, a yearning for an existence which is free of problems and difficulties. And now to bring it into the context of the Buddha Dharma, the purpose of the Buddha Dharma is to have is to impact our mind. It's not about transforming our material conditions or our external conditions, but it's about impacting our mind. Now, for it to have an impact on our mind, we know that when we are engaging with others, and both people are being very open and honest and talking from their heart, that the impact on the other is markedly different. In other words, so in the context of the Buddha Dharma, but also more broadly, when someone is engaging with you, or you're engaging with someone, and you're talking openly and honestly, gently, wisely, others will respond well to this, just like you yourself do. People will be, in return, open and trusting in you, or they'll be trusting in you, and therefore they'll be open with you. And we also know the converse is true. If there's someone that we do not trust, we see them as open and honest, but rather perhaps as deceptive, or their self-interest dominates them, we're not going to trust them. We're not going to open up with them. We're not going to even enjoy their company, because we're going to be on guard. We'll be on edge. But when you look at some of the remarkable beings that do exist in our world now or in the past, such as Buddha Shakyamuni and His Holiness, we can see that the way they communicate with people, the way they interact with people, is in being completely open, completely honest. There's no doubt of any deception or self-interest from their side. So Buddha Shakyamuni we haven't met in person, but we know him through his teachings. And through his teachings, we can see that this was a being who spoke in a way that was honest in the sense that it was in accordance with reality. There was no deceptiveness in the sense that reality was being obscured. And because of these qualities of the Buddha, for 2,600 or so years, his teachings have been bringing remarkable benefit to beings. And this is because his motivation was free of self-interest. Where there is a motivation of self-interest, there certainly is an impact, but a lasting impact like the Buddha's teachings, this will never be achieved. Why the Buddha's teachings have lasted so long is because of the integrity and the purity of the mind from which those teachings were given. That's all.
Then that 간증 안서 딱 봐, 다 취시고, 다 취님보로 어디 라바숨 된다스, 수좀 땡이지 싫었음. 그들다 취 냠낸 지에 연남에나디 라바숨들이 있어. 라바숨. 그 라바숨기 비게 상무지 땅바나 배나 수좀 라바지 디 랭고야 주디 내가 가르쳐 봐야냐 신라 만나 봤지. 그래 신라 펜버드 맞나야 신라 네버 맞이야. 탑시 약수디 술좀 소는 찍으려다스. 찍라 랑기 샘데 작당 초리 락바기 샤만드 마셔야기 탑시 약수 찍디 술좀 소는데레스. 인자 술좀디 랑라 되느냐 하장 그거 침부 수수 샘 기부용야 샘 대부용야 샘 땜부용야 아니 라 아니 다치 샘 땜부 쪼디 아니 땡인즈려야 지어다이냐 디기 시된 쪼디 수좀 글라바트 차고레스 아니 셴라야 너세 빠야기 탑 약슈디 술좀레스 아 그때 딘자 딩모시비 토니 아니 최 냠는 제바이나 자세 야다마 데니페 무슨 딘하로라야 최 냠는 제비베 아니 줌지 소소소 통통해지 용거레스 아 마도 아주 최 비기 년진 지 참라고 지 제바 있나야 단당 엄마 송 거야기 소수 샘도 마소나 펜도스 케문도 아스라 지금 시행라야 독자지 람살레스는 람산 랍간시야 마다 다디치 람나 파쇼마 아니 샘네 조거리 포조거리 팜조거리 삼성 그 삼로지 기 두고면다 티 마토가 갈스나 소수기 냠내야고 치마도 간자 아니 직 소수 데바 메기다 소수다 따오면다 뭐지 람산 빼디 아니 돈 나고치니 독자 라바야지 용거도 왔어 디 아니 소수기 아니 냠nen디 딱다시 메비기 땅신 체슈디 디차고레스 로
The very heart of the Buddhist teachings is the three trainings in the three higher trainings, the higher training of ethics, the higher training of concentration, and the higher training of wisdom. When one trains in these or comes to understand these, there are many is a variety of levels of subtlety by which one can come to understand them. But the very foundation or the basis for the higher training in ethics is that whatever one engages in, one must not harm. Whatever one is doing, one must not bring harm. And if one can take that to a slightly deeper level, one would add whatever one engages in, do not harm and help wherever you can in accordance with your capacity. In this way, we've taken the foundational level of training at ethics of not harming to a deeper level of trying to help wherever one can in accordance with one's capacity. And then to take it to a far deeper level, the higher training in ethics would incorporate not just not bringing harm through our speech or through our physical behavior, but even on a mental level. And here, restraining our mind from being coming under the influence of strong attachment, strong anger, for example. So this then is a subtler level of the training in ethics, where one ensures that one's mind isn't overwhelmed by strong anger or strong attachment. And to aid one's training in ethics, or actually, as one trains in ethics, one's mind becomes ever more stable, more open, relaxed, spacious. And this, in turn, aids one's further training in ethics. Because one's mind now is more stable, it's less likely to respond to stimuli and allow attachments and anger to arise strongly. Also, such a mind is the essential basis to develop calm abiding or single-pointed concentration. If all these teachings that you are receiving, if you're wondering, are they serving their purpose? You need to look at your own mind and see whether they are having an impact on your way of thinking and thereby on your physical and verbal behavior. And if you notice that you are responding in kind to, for example, aggression from others, then you know your training in ethics needs to be cultivated further. Because if someone, for example, responds to, interacts with aggression towards you, and your afflictions arise and you act under the influence of those, and there's a sign. You need to apply yourself more to your training of ethics. So therefore, watch your mind and watch for physical signs such as the change in facial expression and so forth. Guard your mind, keeping your mind freed of the afflictions. And this is a subtler level of the training in ethics. That's
There's dindige chi samoj tang to na pe yabuyo saris ro dodo deresa da deni ji da Tsultrim sonya zo di Tsultrim sonya zo chik di rangi sem di manchu ya chik rangi sem di tembu yoy chagdang chogri ki pena shawand manchu ya chet Tsultrim songores sem manchu ya chet Tsultrim songores sonshi Tsultrim ya ke cheshu to so ra ani notsi cheshu to so shen la yin ba yin notsi cheshu to so ani kelen ma che kelen che rangi sem chuk do ya notsi cheshu pena ani chi para drama de tong de da pigi ta chi drama de sidro ya yora this drama de seva na ani susu sem chuk do was ra susu sem chuk ba na susu mese chola was ani susu chigle yebi ge chi ani chokbo chokmo inanda pama pinche inanda an sama magi was so was tangi tida chena da zao ni digmudu sambe same thing ni samlogic tang to ba na jacha jatam ba ani nduzu lela chin sha to gres that this samlo che ma na kaptu le ya ji kibudo ji do samne ani drama de che de ba na ani kibu chag mares terwa choyo mares.
for those who make effort in their training, stabilizing their mind, taking control ever more of their mind so it's not so easily influenced by their afflictions. This is a wonderful way to live. Oneself is so much more stable, so much more at ease, and one's interactions with others, therefore, also add to harmony and closeness with others. The way to really understand ethical restraint, what's often translated as ethical conduct, the way to understand ethical restraint is that it really is about restraining your mind from coming under the influence of afflictions. And at first, you'll be striving to restrain your mind from being influenced by powerful afflictions. And as you get more skilled, you'll be able to no longer be influenced by even weaker levels of affliction. So in particular, minds such as anger and attachment. By refraining your mind from being influenced, overwhelmed, overcome by afflictions such as that, you'll keep your mind more stable, more calm. So this is how to understand ethical restraint. But to aid your cultivation of ethical restraint, one needs to gather knowledge, to understand what is virtuous, non-virtuous, wholesome, unwholesome, so that one can gain clarity, a certainty that it's never suitable to harm others, to not believe the afflictions that try to influence us to engage in behavior that brings harm, not to believe those justifications. Moreover, as one takes greater care of one's mind, one will be ever more aware of what external things influence your mind, in particular things like alcohol or drugs. Because not only do these harm one's physical health, but they obscure our mind, and thereby it becomes so much easier to harm others. When one has developed a strong wish not to harm others, one will look at something like, for example, alcohol, but it's much broader than that, and you'll recognize that the mind of attachment arising, saying, enjoy this, it will make you happy. But because of your study and your meditation, you'll know that actually it will harm my mind, and thereby I will bring harm to others. Thereby it'll be so much easier for me to engage with others, interact with others in a way that is perhaps aggressive, or where my self-interest is dominant. So this is a process that one goes through, gathering knowledge, looking at one's mind, taming one's mind. And in this way, one starts to practice ethical restraint at ever more profound levels. That's all.
어딘지에다 테니 땡인증기 라바 땡야 쪼디 셈 템부 용약이 쳇 땡도스 아 셈딜람상 귤 지율 샹내야 양조 마임바 셈 템부 용약이 쳇도 땡인증이 라바 땡여레스 땡인증이 라비 고든 쪼디 테레마도 텔리 고바치야지 요 말레스 랑기 셈 템부 용약이 쳇도 땡인증이 라바 땡도스 라
The three higher trainings, the first was the higher training in ethics, the second is the higher training in concentration. This is where one develops that stable mind that has come about independence on the higher training in ethics, and now makes it completely stable, so that when you're meditating on one thing, your mind just stays there, single-pointedly. It doesn't waver and get distracted to other thoughts, to other things, to other thoughts. One just stays on that one object, or that one subject, that one topic that you're meditating on. You stay there without any distraction or wavering. That's all.
그러다 샘든 귤초초 제바이나 아니 간지 만주 미기를 때바나라 메카시 샘바든 귤초초 요라 아니 샘 귤바이나 깨제된 귤도 그래서 아니 드리셔야 되다 산이셔야 돼 먼저와 차도 그래서 아 간세 샘 귤도 꼴론 귤도라 되니 간삼질라니 적부 수임 바이나야 이체 매와치 차기로 왔어 그러 아 드리 용진 백개제님 무시고 시에제 인사를 야부 제사를 삼 산이 용 딜비 딱딱 아니 신질로치 아타 캔잔 딩유면도 삼삼로치 아 양 제마다 공당에 넣으셔다 지지지슬 아 딘디 규드라진 거라스더라 이 샘 때문에 따라면도 셴박하야 말아왔어.
We can see that some people, their mind really is very unstable, in the sense that it wavers strongly and regularly, in that one day a person will be acting in a particular way, saying certain things, and the next day saying things completely contradictory to that. And you see that their motivation changes because their mind is changing so much. This kind of person then you can't rely on, you cannot trust, because today they're talking in this way and tomorrow they're saying and doing the opposite. Sometimes they may apologize, but still their mind is very unstable, and therefore it's difficult to rely, to trust in such a person.
The sheriff labade, sheriff said, Muyu nisul tok tungenge, pigi che tungenge, lo de la sheriff lagwarmado. Shambat dili los sheriff ki yomaras ra. Muyu nisul tok tuban karen keja de muyu nisul shetu gores. Ah, ani lega de muyu nisul ta dembag lega shetu gores. Do shiundi ganga yabu yongya dininguda kanjin dor duna 점된 디게 라버숨기 아니 냠len 제거야겠다 라브샤 줘라 간솔라 다 타르뚜나 아니 소수 셈바디 소수 다부 잡투야체 난주 소수 셈바디 소수 다부 잡마투디 쇼르고다스라 아니 되는 녀다 참말로 셈 마토할 때니 용르에서야디 당고연디 소리도 알아 냠녀라 답변 어딘지레 진짜 아니 라바솜디 좀된디게 라바솜 송고에 균생 거바 아니 마손나 가샤 가리여메 어딘지 직성무지 땅투바나 베마스바 펜도여서레스 라
The third higher training, that of high training wisdom, this is where one, through analysis and investigation, comes to understand reality. And those who have developed the higher training in wisdom, having come to understand reality, this will influence, pervade every moment of their life. And thereby everything that they do and they say will be in accordance with reality. So the Buddha taught that we are responsible for our own minds. This state, the condition of our own mind is our responsibility, not that of someone else's. Therefore, we need to through taking responsibility of our own mind, we become the in charge of our mind, the leader of our mind. I mean, think about this. There really is some truth in this. This is in accordance with reality. So the higher training in reality is investigating and coming to realize reality itself. So when one has thought about these three high trainings and given rise to the aspiration to cultivate them within, then one will also look for what in one's life aids one's development of these higher trainings and what hinders. And what hinders one's spiritual development, one will try and interact with less, and whatever aids, one will try to have more of. It's because we've come to really value these three high trainings and want to cultivate them within. That's all.
람름 나눠라야 더 찬스 직진의 고역이 말에 아니 람름 나눠라야 즉 라마다 로마기 펜족 제와 꼴라야 시온디 로마기 라마라야 이체온 대바디 간다지 고그레스라디게 고치다고 셈시 고그레스 고치스나 하고 그래 무상지레 키지요바나 키디 무상디 고치라고 했다 벽이 그때 대 벽이 찍지로 다이 지게두다 아니 키드 덴티가나 샤그로 나야 수수부고 나시친 샤그도 야부변도 이나 간주 별라 키디 칠로라 샤그르 모두 나로라 샤그마라 gondram 샤고라 고 키다오지고 그래 고 키드라 셈 간다조르슬라운디 키디 젠다델야 가위 셈디 자와 니는 규루무다고 아 키티 동난다 진다디 동난다 칼진다 가드이나 진다디 코랑기 진다 인삼사베질 자원이니 그 제음도 로 만부 드와이나 디젤 투온디 그 람상 쟁기도 아니 잘은 탐 젤레기 딱반 믹치 안지 땅이고도 니 무스 통스로 오 키기세 오 디난 신기베 아니 셈지 고그레 성거다 저 고기베도 아
In the Lamrim, the graduated stages of the path to enlightenment, there the relationship between teacher and student is presented, and the student is encouraged to cultivate deep and stable trust in their teacher. And there's an analogy given of the student in the same way that we see with one's dog at home. If you have a pet at home, you'll see how that dog has complete stable trust in you as their owner, and they know that you will look after them, and in return you always the dog will always look after you, always be on guard for you. So in Tibet, the dogs, or the Tibetan culture in Tibet, the dogs don't sleep in the house. They have a kennel outside, and they'll be sleeping, they'll be resting, but they'll always be a little alert for danger to the main home, and they will, but even whilst resting, be always having their mind on their family and ensuring the safety of their family. And a remarkable quality in dogs, and you would have seen this, I certainly have, is if they've been separated from their owner for some time, even some years, when they reunited, the great joy that arises in the dog. I've even seen dogs cry with joy when reunited after a long separation from their owner. So this is the kind of relationship, this deep, deep abiding faith, trust that a student is encouraged to develop in their teacher. Lasso.
제 돈조인 바이네야 베나 케바도다 아니 키디 지자 키디 진다 되기 아 텔야 가위 샘디 딱 싸우니 기르기였어 말다 아 대난신기 아니 먼저 페로이나 따여로 horse 따포여로 따포드서 아니 다 진다디 수치 야 친구자디 깝깔다 메셴발 종샤그로 아 종야들 다 종의 사다른 분들 튀겨야 된디여로 답변 로망분 거와이나야 그게 님이 진다디 제금도 깝깔로 그 트사라는 트레용도 나무스 통유에 된디 츠 딘디 베디 아니 샘레야 교메바 샘레 교메바 지 데투바이나 되니 미기나 이치치야 아니 소소이나 아니 기부 박배부 여봐 그러 야샤기하다 맞다 먼저 샘드 쇼직배 아니 갈수 왔다 샘 소소 샘 칼은 두고요메 아니 소소 니마 깨제 가르시고 싸움을 가르단 게 드링이 깨제 가르시는데 싸움을 가르단도 드니까 가원 론도 문도 메카실은 모킨 사야만다. 간선나 샘드 차다 모som 그 on 슈크치즈 드로송디 아니 뭐서 메주 차용다.
It is good. Dampo taki kola tuyatankin, deni de savne keren danta di median drabo di ngani komasong, yen dampo taki kola, di taki nangchin the, di kung tatu yindu, dakpo chigyare, deni tsongyab deni pena lokashi jela, di ngoma ki dakpo tupdu, deni kipo jung, keren di dan drabo taki kola sumso, di kosam, tuche, deni de sarne, di sapo kosam migi kola, di ngai komasong.
Di nangshingi, 샘드 땜부치고 나왔어. 샘버디 땜부치 매바이나 샘드 귤초초 차와이나 되니 깨장 귤줘야 남귤 귤줘야 아니 숙한 게 이체 마셔야지. 이지치 두고 말하다. 미코다 땜부치는 요 말스 라그라. 미코다 땜부치는 요 말스. 니만 안주 미치zo 용라라. 디 차야디 샘버디 땜부 매반자 귤주고 열어서 어디서 간지 안주 다보 자고야 저도 소수 샘드레샤스. 아니 제버 제고 딱지 지긴 바이네야 소수 샘드레샤스. 그러 미셴버 딱지 마치워지. 아니 숨진 셴버 딱지 지야기 딱지 지야기다 가서다 겐로도 요마라다 내가도 요마라 딱지 지야도 소수 샘. 그러 간지 락돈도 최징이지 바이나. 비기다지 개닝 동발라인 잔주심비 동발라인 상가가 최슈이 지스 딘디지 뽑아 영이지 바이나 아니 딱지 지야디 소수 샘들이 마도 셴버균들이 만다스
I know many of you have dogs yourself, or you know, of course, friends who do, and you see with a dog how stable their mind is towards their owner. They are that feeling of closeness, of a deep connection that they have for their owner is unwavering, no matter what passage of time or what events come. The closeness from the dog to their owner always remains. And many of you probably don't have horses, but I know horses from my time in Tibet. So and they are similar. For example, a stallion? When a stallion is young, it will be trained by the owner, and at some point when he's old enough, he will be sold. And then it will be sold, and now someone else will own the horse, and perhaps a long way away. And I've also seen that when that stallion, some years later, meets their owner from childhood, there's immediate recognition, immediate joy arises in the stallion's mind. So from these two examples, that stability of mind, in particular in the aspect of the closeness to others, and that stability of it, this is something that we need to emulate and develop with ourselves. Because if our mind is not like that, where we are close to someone one day, but then something happens and now their closeness is severed or harmed, then it will be very difficult to develop a relationship based on trust, a relationship that is close. So we need to develop this stability. And it's our responsibility to do so. As the Buddha said, taking care of our own mind is our own responsibility. And the way that we should think about this is that of all the many responsibilities that we have, our primary responsibility is to care for our mind, take responsibility, take charge of our own mind. And whatever we are doing to develop the mindfulness, to be aware of our mental process, take care of our mind. And this is the case for all Buddhist practitioners, whether one's a practitioner of Sutra or Tantra. Taking care of your own mind is the purpose of your practice, to develop your mind. And we ourselves have this responsibility to take care of our own minds. That's okay.
Diri kabdula yas marong sem kaimba and di kandrachi tone tap any sama so tang chiora da suzu nyamnyo tone tening anzola ya labsha ji redwas ra dir tangan tin the di nanglo la ya hong kew tamba tuzu labsha yong su zobe nanglo la ya susu sem sonya chi sonyor ma do ani me shengi kyen tongya chi kyen taya chi zawani ni somundas zawani ni sonyo mares tinza ta chi chue nyamlen chingen namba mena ko nambi khari lawi yeme ko ani takche chin ro chogre tin ro ya ta ngone gi pena ngan rawa chi chin namba chi gi ba na namba chi yin sam gi ji ba na ani kyen tasadi mission remandas susu semre das ro ta di mena ani hong kew tamba to zugi labsha gyabda norware vesena marwas ro hong kew tamba to tagar nyamle nani ani tribi kompang ya tobni ta chi shenla ya indigi nyamle nandang tola ya ta kasa charo da masonna ani shatsa ga tonen ma labsha gyabja gi redas ro
Di tamange komason. Di tamange komason.
하나도 냠낸 체니 또뭐 통부열래 원니 답비 아니 거든도 추원이 다디 디나시 지 챤라바 펜토야 치도 아니 라브제 잡라스 대 샘송 단디 라브제 디리마도 샘송 모고야기 넘버 3 기비기 라브제 찌문도 왔으라
The remarkable practitioners, those really who are striving to transform their minds, the holy beings in this world, their primary focus too is on transforming their own mind, ensuring that their mind stays freed of afflictions and dominated by ever more powerful, wholesome, virtuous minds. And when they're giving advice to others, the advice they give is about each person, how each person should take care of their minds. When they're giving advice, and they don't talk about the faults of others, they talk about how people need to take care of their minds and talk about the techniques for developing one's own mind, abandoning faults in one's own mind, developing good qualities in one's own mind. Their teachings and guidance isn't about look at the faults in other people's minds or the lack of good qualities in other people's minds, but they're giving their students, those in their presence, guidance on how to develop their own minds. So I, of course, am a Buddhist, and therefore I understand that my responsibility is not to focus on the faults of others or to talk about the faults of others, but to focus on my own mind. And to whatever extent I can, ensuring my own mind is not under the control of afflictions, but rather dominated by wholesome, virtuous minds. Those beings, though, who are highly developed, for them, they can give direct advice to people, telling them about faults in their minds and how to deal with them. But other than these great practitioners, for the rest of us, we should be concentrated on reducing the faults in our mind and developing our good qualities. We should not focus on the faults of others, but only those faults within. That's all.
아니 추디 아니 멜론 따오레스 아니 멜론 나로라야 아니 수수 동바샤론디 아니 동베 나로라야 견 카리여메디 아니 멜론나 세부지 통그라스 대난신진 추드 장원디 수수 샘 나로라야 견 카리여바 통토가지 고그레스 라 다추 장진 수수기 견 지야만통 미신라야 견 다야 지부스를 차바나 아니 추 장비 고든디 드요 마레스 장단 노르데요레스 라
Whatever you're training, whatever Dharma topic you're training your mind in developing within, that teaching, that Dharma topic, you should relate to as a mirror to your own mind. So just like the mirrors that you have in your bathroom, they show any physical imperfection, any physical flaw in your face, then you try and sort that out. This is the role of the Dharma for us. The Dharma should be held up as a mirror to our own minds, show where the flaws are, the faults are, where the opportunities for development are. If we are hearing teachings and we are thinking about the faults of others, this is an error. This is not what the purpose of the teachings. We should be hearing these teachings and applying them to our own mind, looking for faults within our own minds, not that of others. That's all.
이래도 맨날 야스 잔주 셈바 생긴디 다 로종 약시 콘즈 치고라서 콘즈도 치원디 아니 소수 셈 견견견 셈 딤매버서야 탑시라야 아니 셴라야 연된검 셴라야 잠바검 째워검도 신종디 아니 간점질라야 셈다 하장 그 짱마 차원디기 되니 베 아니 베네 드링 자니마 남카 소라지 라 남카기 그 점바요 소바 세온디 니마데 왜 첨부 쇼지 차가도 왔어 아 디난신기 샘기 깨요 소바 세온디 샘 야침부 샘 짜마 데니 지금 내저 간다지 투가 있나야 아니 람상 폭문롱에 아니 베나 장준나로래 가르룩 샤와야냐 강로에서 기어마 dinang신지 샘 마포 din리차고서레스 딘딘 드발이 니마기 우시우샤샤 남깔레 드메바인자 니마 시우차고로 dinang신기 샘 라이케면 샘 짱마 시우치 샘 짱마 여바는 기부 다가란 되고라서
Our role models, the bodhisattvas, these greatly skilled practitioners, their focus is on eliminating the faults in their own minds and on strengthening the good qualities such as love and compassion within. So the approach that we should take is firstly seeing them as role models, seeing that this is how they are training. We should train in the same way. Focus on eradicating our faults and developing our own good qualities. And today, this Sunday afternoon, it's a beautiful sunny day. The sky is clear and the sun is bright and beautiful. So this is a very apt analogy for our own mind, that through the strength of the good qualities in our own mind, like the sun that can clear away the clouds, through the good qualities that we develop within, the faults, like the clouds, can be cleared away. And just like the clouds are not part of the nature of the sky, but are actually separate from the nature of the sky and thereby can be removed, so too, whenever you notice faults within, you don't be despondent. No, rather take strength that now they've been spotted. You have something to eradicate. They are not part of who you are. They can be removed. And they are removed through strengthening. Just like today, the sun is beautiful and powerful. By strengthening your own good qualities, any trace of fault can and will be eradicated. That's all.
어디서다 아니 sembakibu 용약체도 sembatsama 용약체도 라바숨생이도 송여레스 디 나니다 난줄레 당보라에 개체주디 셈만투게 최고야디 라 셈만투게 최고야디 빼케셴보레스 자위긴 되차당 콘로당 셰당당 타돌라 소병한저 셈데 찍투주거레스 디 톨라야 찍 아니 잠은다 똥 세바이나 아니 양자셈 망투도라스 안 소스메시 기우메와 아 디조릭 자원이네로 자원이네 아니 만나나 배야부여라스라 좀된 되게 나와 자원이는 문도다 라 창동야를 좀된 되게 나와 지혜요 말스더라 가슴도 셈 주에 교gin인자 난주 셈 지단 셈직 주되어 뉴무도 섬게 디톨라야 셈 주야기 아니 넘비지도 자원이니 고고요 말았어 인자 창동야 자원이는 나와요 말았어 좀된 되게로
But to have a mind that is stable, and stable meaning that it is abiding peacefully, calm, not overwhelmed by problems and difficulties. Such a happy, peaceful mind is developed through training in these three higher trainings of ethics, concentration, and wisdom. And to develop this calm, stable, peaceful mind, it is essential that all those contrary minds that overwhelm us, that destroy our peace of mind, that we strive to stay free of them. And these are the afflictions: attachment, anger, jealousy, pride, all of these. When they arise and we do not notice, or we don't eradicate them, they will dominate us, and they will lead us to act in a way or speak in a way that not only harms ourselves but harms others. They make us feel small, feel weak, and not in control of ourselves. So we need to recognize that these afflictions are what cause us pain. And it's these afflictions that lead us to harming others as well. When we recognize this, we'll want to be free of them, and we will thereby also strive to be free of the circumstances, the conditions that bring them about within us. In particular, then, the advice from the Buddha not to drink any alcohol, not even a dewdrop of alcohol, because of the impact it has on one's mind, and through that impact, the harm that comes to oneself and to others. So this is a whole process of thinking that I encourage you to engage in, to see the realistic possibility of developing a peaceful mind, a mind that is always happy, and a mind that can bring great benefits to others too. And the way to do that is to gain freedom from these afflictions, and thereby to steer clear of those conditions that bring about strong afflictions. That's okay.
대단 간주 물론 게래셔서 라다디 간주 다 개원이 새롭 탐지도 아니 샘 투야기에 다지 사야 통약 릭디 아니 특별치가 말아쇼스 나는 상물로 개원이 새롭 탐지도록 아니 딘디지 통마고 쇼스 딘디지 삼마고 쇼스 사야지 말아와 쇼스
Die unisapa hakmachong. Tene nga to tama karini sadan tung na nga to di yore. Karan di sungi yope?
No.
Dene tung dang saki kola kari sungi yope. Di nga hamachong?
Nyanga sao. azamsede chizan tanganzo 개원이 새롭 탐지를 야로 먼저 샘 투드야기 샘버 투드야기 사연 통해지 리조라 딘디지 택버지가 말아와 쇼스 딘디 택버지가 말아와 쇼스 말음 디갸기스 라 안사막 말음 디갸고스 라 먼저 지단이 차다모서 샘주 투어리 디간라야 샘 투야기 지 아니 지 산통 제바나 근데 베드 미스 촐라도고다스 디 리디 미스 강기 소차 수 강기 아니 마라와쇼스티 라
I encourage you to join me in a prayer that from life to life, continuously, life after life after life, that we joyfully, wholeheartedly refrain from eating or drinking anything that harms us, anything that in particular harms our mind, anything that serves as a condition that brings about our afflictions and thereby leads to us bringing harm to ourselves and to others, thereby limits us in living a life of meaning. So I encourage you to join me in this prayer that from life to life, we easily, joyfully refrain from eating or drinking anything that leads to the arisal of strong afflictions.
랑안줄 지존 드말이야 아니 소다원디 내당 온풍 탑주 시와당 최단 자시 배워서
Also Droma Tsultrim gerät igoso.
지존 드말이 소다비 시그널이야 아니 내매봐 아니 온풍 그 동을세와
Ompung ompung.
빵고 그 동을지어라 온풍 그 동을세와 아니 지금 그 동을세와 간지 탐안디비기 따둥하탕체 아니 세워쇼스 짜시비기 차발레기 차바탐 리버쇼스 아니 지존드마키 투지식스 딜라고로라 등원내려왔다 디고고라스라.
There's a particular prayer or supplication that is made to Tara, where one prays to her or supplicates her that all may be auspicious for life to life, that one refrains from all that is like a poison, anything that one may eat or drink that is like a poison in that it brings harm to one's body or mind. Also.
대성아주 미윤나노야 지 아니 비기다 샘버 추드야기 아니 아라싱이 릭디 아니 티버지가 숙한게 통마고 쇼스 아니 지 자글라 소바 딘디기 아니 셈버 투드야기 rigdi 아니 지 소차 숙한게 아니 카나에 레마고 쇼스 라
But when making such a supplication, then it's important that one's not merely reciting words, but one is in the recitation, one's mind is holding deeply. May I never engage again in any life, in even a drop of alcohol or a single interaction with any kind of intoxicant. May I stay away easily and withdraw from anything that brings harm to myself or others.
예 심전탕 제베 아니 차독게 샤원도 마키로 쇼스 아니 나르게기 샤원도 마키로 쇼스 데차기 샤원도 마키로 쇼스 마리비 샤원도 마키로 쇼스 물론 게 드려도 따라 디 요도 상은 드니 용도 따라 동아 상은 될 때니 용도 따라
And similarly, I encourage you to make prayers along the lines of, may I not be influenced by afflictions such as anger towards sentient beings, or jealousy towards sentient beings, or attachment at all, or ignorance in any way. May I gain freedom from these. May they no longer harm me.
심전탕 지금 길어야 아니 제비 삼바 좀 많이 받지 기와 쇼스 잔주그슴 좀 많이 받지 기와 쇼스 아니 탐지 샘라야 아니 탐제베 수수게 아니 직 파다 맞다게 아니 뒤시여 받지 아니 용쇼스 라 담만도 스캬는 들어봐나 아니 간지 기부차 그랬어
Similarly, I urge you to make prayers such as, towards all sentient beings, may I only feel uncontrived love. May I have uncontrived bodhicitta towards all sentient beings without exception. May I perceive each and every sentient being as being my kind mother who has raised me with kindness again and again. So making prayers like these, especially slowly in a heartfelt, sincere manner, brings great joy to the mind.
토지체 된 데를 샤자인데 저거는 티는 디그리스 라 된다 자니마데 테스트 땅에 야그로
So thank you. We can leave the teaching for there for today, but if you have questions, please feel free to ask.
안엘은 일이었었다. 어제네.
Driaminduga.
먼저
Okay, so then if there are no questions, then Anila can lead the prayers.
야 제만은 아주 쇼기 속었다스라.
네.
사님만이 대리
네.
뒤주지기 전에 아니
네.
닝겨라 지르마도 아니 사님만 진짜디 아주 쇼기 속으랬어. 쇼기 속는 진짜 야다. 땅 아주 야 깝깔이야 제름 딘지기 아니 냠도 키기여 봐나. 베나 위켄 코스도 냠도 키기여 봐. 아니 아주 반 닝겨라 속어야 된지 소식이 저단
네.
좋아 말했어.
네. 그래. 예, 콘솔 람그래?
야 랍고라 디자.
So next week we'll continue as usual in the morning, but when there are other activities in the afternoon, in the morning, then our talk we'll rather be doing in the afternoon, like we've done today. But just again, next week we'll be back to the usual time at 10:30 in the morning. That's all.
Final Lamrim dedication. For my 2 types of merits vasa space that I have amassed from working with effort at this practice for a grand land of time, may I become the chief leading Buddha for all those whose minds' wisdom eye is blinded by ignorance. Even if I do not reach this state, may I be held in your loving compassion for all lives, Manjushri. May I find the best of complete graded paths of the teachings, and may I please all the Buddhas by my practice. Using skillful means drawn by the strong force of compassion, May I clear the darkness from the minds of all beings with the points of the path as I have discerned them. May I uphold the Buddha's teachings for a very long time. With my heart going out with great compassion, in whatever direction the most precious teachings have not yet spread, or once spread have declined, may I reveal this treasure of happiness and aid. May the minds of those who wish for liberation be granted boundless peace, and the Buddha's deeds be nourished for a long time. By even this graded path to enlightenment completed, due to the wondrous virtuous conduct of the Buddhas and their sons. May all human and non-human beings who eliminate adversity and create conducive conditions for practicing the excellent paths never be parted in any of their lives from the purest path praised by the Buddhas. Whenever someone makes effort to act in accordance with the tenfold Mahayana virtuous practices, may he always be assisted by the mighty ones, and may oceans of prosperity spread everywhere. Thank you.